We had some technical difficulties in recording Daniel 3 and 4. So I'm going to attempt to go over that again here in my home for those who missed it. So this is Daniel chapter 3. At the end of chapter 2, we saw King Nebuchadnezzar bowing down to Daniel after he not only interpreted his dream, but told him what he dreamt. King Nebuchadnezzar was proclaiming Daniel's God as the one true God. Commentators estimate that now 18 to maybe 23 years have passed. The Septuagint adds in 3:1 that the event occurred in Nebuchadnezzar's 18th year, which would have been about 587 BC. He had forgotten about the one true God. Let's look at Daniel chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits and its breadth 6 cubits. He set it up on the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Then King Nebuchadnezzar sent to gather the satraps, the prefects, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then the satraps, the prefects, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces gathered for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And the herald proclaimed aloud, "You are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, you are to fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall immediately be cast into a burning, fiery furnace." Therefore, as soon as all the peoples heard the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, all the peoples, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Looks like King Nebuchadnezzar's on an ego trip. He makes the image entirely of gold as a statement that his kingdom is going to last forever. It was approximately 90 feet high and 9 feet wide. I think the Empire State Building, no, not the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty is just over 100 feet tall. So that tells you how high this statue was. It was set up on the plains of Dura. No doubt the height included a large base on which the image stood. Years ago, an archaeologist named Oppert discovered a large brick mound, 45 feet square and 25 feet high. Oppert claimed it had the appearance of a pedestal of a huge image, possibly the image of Daniel 3. Now, in verse 2 through 6, what was the king's edict? He was demanding a public display of recognition and submission to his authority. The kings of Babylon were known for roasting people alive who disobeyed their commands. In fact, in Jeremiah 29:22, it says, "All the exiles from Judah who are in Babylon will use this curse. May the Lord treat you like Zedekiah and Ahab, whom the king of Babylon burned in the fire." Archaeologists have found furnaces that were used for punishment. In verse 7, we see all of the peoples falling down and worshiping the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So he brought peoples in from all around the provinces, all in the area, to worship this image. In Revelation 13:15, we see an image of a beast which all the people of the world are told to worship and take its mark or to be killed. Let's look at that. Revelation 13:15. Revelation 13:15 says, "And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. It also causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark. That is the name of the beast, or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Notice that it says that this statue was 60 cubits and its breadth 6 cubits. Those are foreshadowings of the beast in Revelation, whose number is 666. Now, where's Daniel at this time? It's kind of strange that he isn't there. There's actually, I could only think of 3 possibilities. The first one would be that he bowed down. No way. Daniel's not going to bow down to this image. Maybe he didn't bow down, but nobody paid any attention. Also highly unlikely. I think he was probably on a diplomatic mission in another part of the kingdom. This would also have given further opportunity for his friends to be accused while he was out of the picture. So that's why we don't see any picture or any statement of Daniel there. Not a fact, but a possibility. Now let's read further on in Daniel 8 through 18. Therefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came forward and maliciously accused the Jews. They declared to King Nebuchadnezzar, "O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that every man who hears the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, pay no attention to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." Then King Nebuchadnezzar, in furious rage, commanded that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar answered and said to them, "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image that I have set up? Now, if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, to fall down and worship the image that I have made, well and good. But if you do not worship, you shall immediately be cast into a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. And he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury, and the expression of his face was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Let's stop right there a moment. According to the Herald that we read in the first section, they should already be in the fiery furnace. So they've been appointed by King Nebuchadnezzar. They've been doing a good job up till now. And so he gives them an audience and he tries to find a way to get them off the hook. He couldn't believe that these three men, who were trusted, high-ranking officials, really dared to defy his direct order. What is his statement at the end of verse 15? He says, "Who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands?" It was now Nebuchadnezzar versus Yahweh. So what was the response of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Let's look at Acts 4:16 through 20. This is the section where Peter and Paul were before the council, and because they had healed the lame man. And so they've come before the council. And the council says, "What should we do with these men? For that a notable sign has been performed through them is evident to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and we cannot deny it. But in order that it may spread no further among the people, let us warn them to speak no more to anyone in his name." So they called them and charged them not to speak or teach at all in the name of Jesus. But Peter and John answered them, "Whether it is right in the sight of God to listen to you rather than to God, you must judge. For we cannot but speak of what we have seen and heard." So that's another example of those who dared to stand up to those in authority who really had the authority to have them killed. But they chose to follow God's laws and what God said, no matter the consequences. So let that be a lesson to us as well. All right, now carry on verse 19. Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury, and the expression of his face was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he ordered some of the mighty men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their cloaks, their tunics, their hats, and their other garments, and they were thrown into the burning fiery furnace. Because the king's order was urgent and the furnace overheated, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound into the burning fiery furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished and rose up in haste. He declared to his counselors, "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire?" They answered and said to the king, "True, O king." He answered and said, "But I see 4 men, unbound, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the appearance of the 4th is like a son of the gods." Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the door of the burning fiery furnace. He declared, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here." Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out from the fire. And the satraps, the prefects, the governors, and the king's counselors gathered together and saw that the fire had not had any power over the bodies of those men. The hair of their heads was not singed, their cloaks were not harmed, and no smell of fire had come upon them. Nebuchadnezzar answered and said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him, and set aside the king's command, and yielded up their bodies rather than serve and worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree Any people, nation, or language that speaks anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn limb from limb, and their houses laid in ruins, for there is no other God who is able to rescue in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Back to verse 19. Let's tear it apart a little bit. King Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury, and the expression of his face was changed against them. Here again, you can see that up till now, he looked favorably upon them, but now he's not going to have anything else to do with them. He was no longer on their side. He was going to use them as an example to any others who might consider rebelling against his authority. So what was his command? That the furnace be heated 7 times hotter than normal. The furnace was probably constructed with an opening in the top through which the fuel could be fed, and an opening in the lower side from which the ashes could be taken. So the soldiers would throw or lower people into the blazing fiery furnace. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown in, bound in their highly flammable clothing. What happened to the mighty men of valor that threw them in? It says that they were instantly burned up. Just getting near the furnace, they were burned. So then King Nebuchadnezzar jumped up in haste, because they're watching to see what's going to happen. They're going to watch them burn up. And he says, he sees 4 men walking around, not just 3, 4. So what were they doing? They're just walking around, probably visiting. What does the 4th man look like to King Neb? He looks like the Son of God. The Babylonians believed that their gods had sons. So when Nebuchadnezzar said that the 4th person in the furnace looked like a son of the gods, this was his pagan way of saying that the 4th person looked like a divine or supernatural being. I believe that this was a theophany. This was an appearance of Jesus before his incarnation. And he came there to be with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And again, they were just standing around, visiting and talking. And he's telling them that I'm here with you. I'm honoring the way that you are being faithful to your God, even in the midst of this pagan generation, and that you stood up to him. And now I'm going to save you out of the fire. Now notice King Nebuchadnezzar's command in verse 26. I find it interesting that he called the 3 by name. He said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now he knows that they're servants of the Most High God. Come out and come here. He just named the 3 of them because he didn't want the 4th one to come out. That's why he just said, you 3. And what was their condition when they came out? Well, it says that they all gathered around. Can't you just imagine all of them crowding around to see them? And not even, let's see, the hair of their heads was not even singed. Their cloaks were not harmed. No smell of fire. They didn't even smell like fire. King Nebuchadnezzar had wanted to make an example of them. He did. And so then he said, he wanted to make an example of them, and he did make an example of them. He was impressed. And what did he do? He made a decree that no one was to say anything against their God. He blessed them. He knew that God had sent an angel, and he sent his angel and he delivered his servants who trusted in him. And they set aside the king's command and yielded up their bodies rather than worship and serve any god except their own God. So he made a decree that any people, nation, or language that spoke anything against their God would be torn limb from limb and their houses laid in ruins. For he said, "There's no other God who is able to rescue in this way." It seems that he was really impressed, but he still didn't recognize him as the only God. He was still the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And then what happened to them? They were promoted. They were promoted in the province of Babylon, even higher than they had been before. So faith doesn't exempt us from trials. Faith is the ability to elevate God's faithfulness over our current circumstances. God will give us the courage to stand firm, even when it's difficult. We aren't alone in our trials. Jesus walks with us through the fire, protecting and guiding us. The king who had questioned God's power to save now praised him. Sometimes God uses our trials to influence others and reveal his power. Our experiences can lead others to recognize and praise God. They also increase our faith. Trust in his purpose. That's Daniel chapter 3. Thank you.